The current White House just cleared the path for AI exports, and that could give US tech a serious edge. Loosening export rules means American companies can scale faster, strike global deals, and stay ahead of the curve without getting bogged down in red tape. It's a strategic move that favors innovation and smart diplomacy. Watch the full video to see how this shift could quietly reshape the global AI game.
Thing number 5, Gary, now. And really the whole point of the episode issue when we're talking about the AI for everyone issue. We're talking about the current White House scrapping export restrictions on AI tech. This is reversing the policy of the prior White House. Thing number 5, Gary, you're going to dive much deeper into this. The White House scraps AI export curbs. Talk to us about that.
All right. So, Rob, the prior White House, the prior administration, they had something called the diffusion rule. And what it was a policy that divided countries into 3 tiers. And depending on which tier they were in, they called it the Framework for Artificial Intelligence Diffusion. And depending on which tier they were in, it affected the ability of people in those countries to purchase AI technology. Now, obviously, we've talked a lot about US attempted restrictions on what NVIDIA can ship to China. NVIDIA has been very clever and resourceful in finding legal ways to technically comply but circumvent those regulations. And I can understand why the prior White House was saying, wait a minute, American technology here is game changing. This is an area where the United States is the clear world leader in AI chips, AI technology. Our hardware and software is by far the best in the world. And so I understand why the prior White House was trying to figure out who should have access to this, because there's a reasonable argument to be made that AI is going to determine a lot of what happens in the future, a lot of the future's winners and losers. Now, this week, the White House rolled back this plan, and they appropriately and understandably criticized it for being too complex, for being bureaucratic. And in fairness, a lot of people looked at the different tiers and couldn't figure out why certain countries were in one tier versus another tier. I understand why the Biden White House thought it was a good idea. I think this was a situation where maybe the intentions were good, but the implementation for these things tends to be complex. And the Trump administration said, okay, look, this isn't working. And, it's important to point out as well that one of the priorities of the current White House is to address our gigantic trade imbalance. Well, one way to do that is to export more high-priced goods where American software and chips and technology are by far the best in the world. And so they're saying, you know what, that we're not succeeding in limiting other countries and what they're able to do. We might as well be the ones selling this to other people. I don't want to criticize the prior White House for this plans, but I do understand why the Trump White House has decided to reverse that policy. And why it made sense for them to try to address this problem in another way.
Gary, wasn't it though just the U.S. trying to limit technology transfer? I mean, is there a complete change in intentions that the U.S. has now as well?
I don't think it's a complete change. I think what they're doing is they're saying having these 3 tiers is not useful. It's kind of arbitrary. We're not necessarily treating our allies like allies and our enemies, if you want to use that word, like enemies. I think the key issue is trade tensions with countries like China. And the question is, how much access to US technology do we want to give China? And one of the things that we talked about in an episode of the 5 Things a couple of weeks ago is the counterintuitive effect that these things have. So, one of the things the US has been doing, and the prior White House did, is they were limiting the ability of the Chinese to buy large numbers of the high-end NVIDIA chips, or at least they were trying to. They were being shipped backdoor, and there were other ways that China was accessing that technology. And while that policy makes sense, remember, if China can't access the US technology, they're going to build their own. And so, it's only a matter of time before Chinese efforts to make their own chips, to have their own national champions that will compete with, Supermicro and NVIDIA and AMD and, all the other companies that are involved in this. It's the kind of thing that they will develop their own expertise. And so it's not a bad idea to try to hamstring their ability to develop their own capabilities by selling them our capabilities, right? It's basically what China has done to the United States. In many ways, what China has done is they've said, hey, US, you're producing products. We can offer you the same products for a cheaper price. And we've spent the last 40, 50 years saying, okay, great, we would love to buy those products from you at cheaper prices. And the advantage is we got to pay less. The disadvantage is we've lost a lot of our manufacturing capacity. And so in some ways, what this will do is try to present China with the same dilemma. Do you want to buy from the United States to buy the best products in the world at the best prices? Or do you want to spend a fortune to try to develop your own in-house capability? Basically, President Trump is presenting China in AI with the same dilemma that the Chinese have presented the US with for the last, 30, 40 years. So I understand the strategy. It's hard to figure out right now who's going to win on this, but right now what we're doing is saying this is what people's intentions are. And so that's where we are.
Yeah, fascinating stuff there, Gary, and thanks for breaking it down for us. This is the AI for Everyone issue of Deep Knowledge Investing's 5 Things to Know in Investing for this week. Head over to our website, deepknowledgeinvesting.com. Sign up for a free subscription. You'll be added to our newsletter. We also have a premium subscription that gives you full access to the website, as well as all of the current recommendations, buy and sell alerts coming from Gary. And then be sure to use our Ask Gary feature on the site too. Send in a question. You might see it end up here on the 5 things. Moving forward, we'll be back here same time, same place next week. So be on the lookout for that. Really excited getting in a groove with the 5 things and keeping in tune with all the craziness that's going on. I know I felt like it was getting a play-by-play update on Twitter, actually, of like Chinese U.S. Trade tariff negotiations over the weekend. So that was a lot of fun and a lot of stuff happening very quickly, and we'll do our best to keep you in the loop. Please subscribe, like, comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like, why you agree, why you disagree.